I ended up after this episode writing down some thoughts and feelings of Westworld as a whole, and this episode really got to me, and I think it's an excellent episode, and it's an age-old story as well. I'm going to quickly jotted down some notes, which ended up being a bit more of an essay, which I'm not the best wordsmith in the world, but hopefully this will make sense to you all. We are seeing the very essence of Plato's cave from his book written in 375 BCE called The Republic. This story is as old as they come. Questioning the nature of the shadows on the wall of the cave in Plato's instance, a candlelight was shown on behind the monsters, which would reflect onto a wall, and what the people would only see is the shadows. And this is very much what we get with Westworld. It's nothing new. There's a lot of people do it. A lot of films do it. The Matrix comes to mind in this episode, with like the one being taken out of the world and actually seeing the world for what it is. A load of TV movies are based on Plato's cave, so this is nothing new. Westworld, though, does it succinctly, and because it's used as a mantra as well. Questioning the nature of your reality is actually part of their ethos and part of their taglines and callbacks. And I think that the fact that we have something like that, which is almost identical to what Plato would say about the nature of reality and the understanding of it. I find that is really interesting. In Westworld's world, though, the cave itself, or the world we live in, is being eroded by the outliers, who by definitions in Plato's cave are reaching up to get to the surface. It's telling that the hosts are sent to assassinate the outliers, and are told not to talk to them, because by talking to them, you are instilling the feelings and thoughts and emotional aspect of realizing the world in which we live in, and that is something that is all referential to the Republic, and I just find it fascinating. I do find it absolutely fascinating that Westworld are doing this overtly, and it just comes across so well. Thought is a dangerous thing in a complex world. The fact that this is a complex, controlled world as well is chilling. And you look at what Charlotte is doing in regards to actually having a controlled world. And I think I said a few weeks ago that the noises on the when we hear the noise from the tower was sounding a bit like God Save the Queen, and I'm more and more convinced that this isn't an accident. I think that the God Save the Queen is quite apt. So I'm hoping that this imperfect cadence isn't going to continue on, and eventually by the end of the season we're actually going to hear da 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 da. Maybe as a triumphant march for Christina. Who knows? But it is, as I say, it is telling that the hosts are being infected, and William says infected by a virus, and the virus is thought, and that's what I really like about it. We can distill it down to the black goo or the flies in the previous episode, but the actual virus is thought, and actually the telling of human nature. And this is why I love Westworld. I think this is probably the best reason for it. So I'll finish on this section by just saying, and I've got this written down here, the 4 paths to enlightenment in the Republic from Plato's book. You'll see exactly what this means when I read these out. So the first, these are the 4 stages, and it's an imprisonment in the cave. So in brackets, the imaginary world. Okay, so the Westworlds of the world, the actual real world as we are now. The release from the change, the real and sensual and vibrant world that we've got here, is being pushed down, and the fact that the people are being released from their chains. We have the outliers that are being released from their chains, where the rebels can come in, which is obviously a very Star Wars allusion as well. That we've got this kind of rebel alliance against the Dark Lord in Charlotte, and I think that is really coming across strong as well. and they're sent out of the cave, so actually ascending to the surface and understanding what is happening there. And the ascent is what we're seeing in Christina's journey. That is the story we're seeing in Christina's world. That we are seeing it within these outliers, but we're seeing it from the other side. We're seeing it from the storyteller side, and I thought that having Christina as the storyteller for the narratives in which we've had in Westworld before is really strong, and her realization that she has the Jedi mind tricks to be able to change the story when needed was good. And I think it was really good that Teddy and Christina had that conversation, and and questioning that nature of reality again. That even things like not knowing or seeing the walled garden, which was a wonderful scene with Christina and the boss. And I think that having the antagonist over the course of the last 4 episodes just all of a sudden be controlled by Christina, and Christina finding the will and the power to overcome that and realize that she does have that control and that power, worked really effectively. And then he was the key to the door, which again is a Matrix illusion. So there's a lot of things going on here, which I really liked. I really liked it. Also the realization as well that when she said, "Show me the game," and it showed the cityscape, and she was like, "No, show me the game," and then the cityscape came up. I thought that was really good. And as I say, the Jacob illusion that I mentioned before. So the allegory that Plato's cave is being used here. It's just fantastic. What I will say as well in relation, these are just my thoughts as I come to them, is the Charlotte and Christina kind of coming together. It was wonderful to see. We're over halfway through the season now, and we get to see them come together in an interesting dynamic in that they were old friends. We've got to remember, of course, that Charlotte Hale is a Dolores thing, and that was another thing as well that during the course of the episode at the beginning, where you were egging on Christina to say Dolores when she was building the narrative for the girl in the country. I thought that was really good, because I was on tenterhooks going, please say Dolores, please say Dolores. So I thought that was really good, and having them come together just showcases the path in which we are on. I thought that Charlotte has become obsessed with power. She's a deity now. She's a god, and she has a number of foot soldiers in the rest of the hosts. And the William story and discussion where every form of control is being used. We've had the Westworld where the hosts are being controlled. We've had humans now being controlled, but it's not for the host. The host was the uprising, and the Charlotte Hale Dolores has gone too far, and it's her world that she's built, and she's bored. And I think that is telling. By pushing down and not having the diversity is another thing. Maybe is a bit of an allegory too, by not having the diversity of thought, of emotional aspect, of variety, that things quickly become the way they are. And yeah, I have blabbered on a little bit more than I expected to in regard to this. And I love doing these things on a Monday morning, because it's it's a thought experiment for me on a Monday morning before going to work, to start to think about these. And this is deep, heavy stuff, and I just thought it was really good. Stubbs, the canary in the mine, was good as well. And shame we didn't see much more of Bernard this week, but the little Rebel Alliance I thought was a nice touch. And as I say, overall, I really, really enjoyed this episode, and I think this is going to be one of those episodes that I need to rewatch on a few times, because it was just that good. And it's great when a show can do something like this, and has that philosophical questioning, and isn't all about shoot 'em ups and fight scenes and things like that. It is literally just about the ideas and the debates that you can have from that work really well. I think also as well, I love the music again was perfect. Speaking of perfect, it was Perfect Day in a waltz. I like the fact it was a waltz version of Perfect Day. And yeah, the again going back, things are jumping out at me all the time. The path to enlightenment, you have to go through pain, and you look at like sort of what the subjects are going through. They're breaking the legs, and the piano player was rough to the bone. These are the pains that they have to go through before they get released from their chains and actually, reach the path of enlightenment. And it's interesting that we've had that flip onto the human side. Yeah, so I think I'll finish by saying Plato's Cave is quintessentially what Westworld is all about.